Good morning. It is Monday, August the 25th, and we are saying goodbye to Missouri River Brewing Company, where we spent the night and met Danielle. She came and joined us for dinner. She was also here as a Harvest Host guest. And our first stop today won't be real far down the road because we're getting propane. And then we're going to another national park site.
Continue on US 12 West for 3 miles.
So Henry thinks it's 70 degrees. That's probably fairly accurate. It is 10:18 in the morning. Looks like I'm gonna have a little difficulty getting out of here. And this is part of the issue that we had last night. It was funny. See, the train tracks right across the road. The train didn't bother me, it bothered Barb, but the traffic noise bothered me. It finally died down, but then it started up again fairly early.
Continue on US 12 West for 3 miles.
So, we got 3 miles to Propane, and then we'll be continuing on to our national park site.
Wake up with the sun in our eyes. Sally forth, no need for goodbyes. Journey calls, let's roll the dice. Every mile a new surprise.
Okay, well that was a good call on Propane. $2.75 a gallon, and I took almost 7 gallons at yeah, I think the most that I've ever put in when I've been completely empty has been 8.9. so I could have gone a few more days, but I'm afraid we're getting more cold nights as we get into the mountains, so I wanted to be able to make sure I had enough propane to run heat. Thought that might be a good idea. Alright, so here we go. We're going to be getting on 12 West again. We've done that before. A couple of miles till we get there. Heading toward Missoula. Well, we're saying goodbye to I-15s, at least for a while, so yay for that. We came from Great Falls yesterday. This is Helena, or Helena, whichever way you say it. And we are heading today for Deer Lodge. It's kind of cool looking pedestrian bridge here to the right. So this is a new part of Helena that we haven't seen. I feel like I have to say Helena. I don't know which way you say it. If you know, let me know. I guess there aren't any truck lane restrictions here. I can't say that there's anything super spectacular looking about this portion of the town. Store. See, these are not casinos as I know casinos. I can see some tall church spires up there to our left.
US 12 West,
Oops.
North Montana Avenue.
I guess I better watch the stopped traffic, huh? That might be a good idea. But it looks like we're going to go directly through downtown, so that'll be fun. Hi, Kit. That'll be fun. Yeah. Yeah. And I can't wait to get this camera downloaded and see how our Kit view is, because I changed the camera location in the hopes that we get more of him.
In 800 feet, turn right onto US 12 West, North Montana Avenue.
There's a Safeway. Yeah, I was very pleased with the propane price at $2.75 when the fuel prices are like $3.25. And that's the second person I've seen begging
44 miles.
since we got here yesterday. So I guess they've got a homeless problem here. This is not a place that I would want to be homeless, though. I think it would be too cold. What you looking at? What you looking at, Kit? Is that better? Get some of the screen out of the way. I'll be glad to get rid of that screen, and it's going to happen sooner rather than later, I think. Okay, oh, I think we make this turn and then I think we've got 44 miles of straight road after this. We'll see. We shall see. There's the Big Sky thrift store over there on our left. Donations welcome. I don't have anything left to donate. I think I've gotten rid of all my donations now for a while. There will be more, I'm sure. Caboose Casino. Yeah, it says 43 miles until our next turn, and it looks like we're basically going straight until then from what I can see on the map. View. That's a pretty mountain up there to the left. Oh, I was going to get over, but it looks like there's going to be road construction in the right-hand lane, so I guess I'll just stay right here. We'll just stay right here, right, Kit? Right, Kit, Kit, Kit? Are you the handsome puppy dog? Are you looking around at stuff? Are you? You checking everything out? $10:45 already by the time we finished with propane and got back on the road and partway through Helena, Helena. I'm going to just say both. Yeah. This looks kind of like commercial. We got banks. I think I see a hotel up there. U-Haul out of the gate. Right lane closed ahead. Live in Carroll County, in Maryland. This doesn't feel as much like a city as it does suburban sprawl to me. Appears, looking at the map, it appears to go on for a fair bit yet, probably another mile or so. I just want to leave the camera running for a minute or two, just in case we see something really interesting. Not counting on it. Have you noticed how many casinos there are though? Oh, and they're casino liquor stores. That's pretty interesting. Past the Early Bird Cafe on the left. I think it was the Early Bird Cafe we went to in Parker when I was still in the boot and on crutches last winter. Was 35, now it's 45. So we must be leaving the city behind. And now we're in suburbia. You see any difference? I don't really. A sign on a building that back there. It took me a minute to parse it before I could say this. What I thought it said was orthodontics and prostitutes. What it actually said was orthotics and prosthetics. That's what happens when you just glance at something quickly sometimes. Because my first thought was, well, how do orthodontics and prostitutes go together? And I didn't think prostitution was legal in Montana. But yeah, I figured it out. Old Montana Prison and Auto Museum. That's where we're heading today after we go to the national park. One more view of the mountains for you there. And I think I'll pick you up in a little bit. Helena Lewis and Clark National Forest. We are up to 5,265 feet and climbing. Coming up into the beautiful Rocky Mountains. Trees. generator and the air conditioner, I think, for about 2 hours last night. Because it got up to 90 degrees while we were inside the brewing company eating and drinking. And boy, did they have a delicious white stout. It was, wow, it's quite the scene behind us. It was an espresso stout and just delicious. In fact, it was so delicious that Barb and I bought a 6-pack to split, because part of the issue is they always keep that stuff in the cooler, you know, that go 6-packs, and they didn't have any that weren't cold, and I can't fit an entire 6-pack in my refrigerator. But I can fit 3. We're over 6,000 feet now and still climbing. Nice to be back in the mountains, though. So if we're crossing the Continental Divide up here, as I imagine we are, maybe not on this road yet, but at some point we'll be crossing the Continental Divide. Does that mean that we are officially back in the West? I wonder. Brake through ahead. Alright, 6360. And now we start down. Look at that view. All watercraft crossing the Continental Divide must be inspected before launching. And I think that includes kayaks and stand-up paddle boards and so forth. Just look at it. The miles have been counting down, and we just passed mile 1 on US 12, which makes me think that when we hop on I-90 here, that's going to be the end of US 12. Interesting. That'll be another one I'll have to look up and check out, because I think I've been on the eastern terminus of US 12 previously. Well, this says West 12 straight ahead. Oops. I wonder why it counted down to mile 0 here. Interesting. I'll have to have a look at the map for that. We are only 11 miles from our first destination today, and we're not going to be on I-90 for very long because we are going to Deer Lodge. So we're not actually on I-90 either. This is like, what, the world's longest ramp to I-90? That's the third time at least we've crossed Little Blackfoot River. Very strange. There's the pretty river out there ahead of us though. I guess I better look at where I'm going instead of at the water. What do you think, Kit? You can look at the water. So we are not yet on I-90, we're still on the ramp. I mean, this is kind of bizarre. Complicated ramp system for I-90 here. Alright, so we got 8.2 miles of I-90, and you know what I always say, if you've seen one freeway, you've seen them all. Well, we seem to have driven back into the smoke. And here we are in Deer Lodge. Which is apparently home of the Tri-County Rodeo and Fair, I think. Which ended on August 17th, so yay for that. But otherwise I imagine it could be pretty busy here. Yeah, so he had his turn signal on. I thought he was getting on the freeway. That could have been dangerous. So this seems to be a bit of a tourist destination, and I'm not really sure why. K to 8th grade back to school night, August 25th. That's today. Oh goody. Travel Inn and Golden Spike Casino. Family Dollar. Gotta be one in every town, right? Fire danger day today is high. Going to the Grant-Kohrs Ranch Visitors Center. It's a National Historic Site. Are you excited about that, Kit? Stop. Knock it off. And I don't see any RV parking per se. Oh. Not right here. Where it says RV and bus. Perfect. Okay, Kit. So here we are at the Grant-Kohrs Ranch, National Historic Site. It's only had 3 owners, and the last one donated it in 1972, so it can be preserved. So we're going to check it out and see what we can see. But for lasting peace, let them kill, skin, and sell until the buffaloes are exterminated. Then your prairies can be covered with speckled cattle and festive cowboys. That was General Philip Sheridan in 1875. Wow.
He got around, didn't he? Because we've run into him
all over the place.
Yes. And
not a nice guy. Yeah. Got a hell of an attitude there, General Sheridan. So I wonder, that was Sheridan, Wyoming, where we stayed at the rest area. I wonder if that was named for him. I'm betting it probably was. Or perhaps one of his relatives. So anyway, the ranch area is over here. We're going to head over that way. And we're going to see what we can see. So now we know, I didn't get to show it on the video when we were driving, but I saw these enormous hay piles that were very much square. Look at that. So they must have been done with a beaver tail hay stacker, which I find it interesting that that's still being used today. And then how do they retrieve that hay? Yeah, I mean, we're used to seeing it in the big round bales or the formerly normal size rectangular bales, but I'm not used to seeing it in an enormous pile. So pretty interesting. Quite a good sized house over here. Oh, is this a little creek? Is there a little creek out here? Yes, there is, and the water is flowing. Look at that cute little creek. I think a creek is smaller than a creek. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, so you get part of the story in signboard pictures. This is John Francis Grant, who chose the site for its rich grasslands, abundance of water in the sheltered valley. He completed this house in 1862 as a trading post and family home. He first traded cattle with the immigrants on the Oregon Trail to build up a large herd, and later made a hefty profit by selling meat to miners during the gold rush. However, new settlers brought racial discrimination and shady business practices. Discouraged by these changes, Grant sold the ranch to Grant-Kohrs in 1866 and moved his family back to Canada. Karstad Grant-Kohrs, this guy here, left Germany at 15 to work at sea as a cabin boy. He was lured west by gold, and his biggest profit came from selling beef to the miners. In time, he built a business that shipped 10,000 head of cattle a year to the Chicago stockyards. Now, when we were in Theodore Roosevelt National Park, we learned about the, what was his name? I'm going to have to put it on the screen because I can't remember, who started his own stockyard in, is it Medora? Yeah, I'm going to put that on the screen, sorry. Anyway, Kohrs, 2 years after he bought the ranch, he married Augusta Cruz, who made the house a home. Kohrs served as a territorial and state senator and a founding member of the Montana Stock Growers Association. He lived here until his death in 1920. And then I guess it was his daughter that ended up, I think she was the one that ended up giving it to the NPS in 1970-ish. So for the most part, cattle get shipped by rail, although in this case, they built the tracks here on the Kohrs property but they were never used for shipping the Kohrs cattle. Most of them were shipped by rail from eastern Montana to the Chicago stockyards, and of course he also supplied beef to the mining camps to the west. So there you go. So no beef on these rails, just an inconvenience then, rather than a convenience, I would think. I imagine this must have been the mess hall for the cowboys. Prop open so that birds that go down the chimney can escape. Okay, good to know. So we've got the Big Sky Draft Horse Expo Hall of Fame.
I got wood.
The Hall of Fame honors men and women who have contributed to the preservation, this is really hard to read, guys, and use of draft animals for future generations. These outstanding individuals have used their horses and mules for both work and play and provide education to those who wish to learn teamster skills. Hall is co-sponsored by the Montana Draft Horse and Mule Association and Big Sky Draft Horse Expo. Okay, well there you go. That's your Hall of Fame. All right, let's check out the tack. Yeah, it smells like horses, smells like horse leather from all the tack here.
Now these are draft tacked.
Yes, definitely. And we got the hay. That must be for the horses that were out in the field that we saw.
And obviously, I think they still must use them.
Yeah,
Use this. Yeah.
there's a couple out there. What a pastoral scene. And this is actually a working barn.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some tack for the not draft horses. But yeah, let's admire how big these collars are for their harnesses.
Mm-hmm.
They can be big guys. Check this out. Wireframe draft horses with all their tack set up with their wagon for the Grant-Kohrs Company Ranch, featuring Hereford cattle and Belgian horses. So there you go. Well, looky, what do we have here? It's a one-horse open sleigh. I bet it goes dashing through the snow. What do you think? This is a bobsled because the runners are bobbed, and it was built in the 1890s. So there you go. Kind of a typical looking wagon here. Ox cart. And there's a oxen yoke. The foaling area. Pretty cool. But I really do like the draft horses on their wire frame set up to show you what all the tack looks like. I think that's very cool. And no good-sized ranch is complete without its own blacksmith shop. This one looks to have been pretty daggone well equipped. But just imagine what it's like to have to be responsible for producing and repairing everything that you work with all the time. And that's what these people had to do. Mm-hmm. Pretty impressive. And this is the flower garden up here by the house. I didn't actually show you the vegetable garden back down by the barns.
Now, according to that sign, she planted plants that were common in the Victorian area, flowers and things like that was common. So these apparently aren't native.
But they probably made her feel good.
Yes. Beauty.
And they're pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, many of them have medicinal purposes as well.
Yes.
And then we're going to go up these steps.
It smells good.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what I'm smelling, but whatever it is, it
Smells good. Up these steps. Wait for me, Kit.
Oh, it says to use the boardwalk.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, we're up at the house, but we're still going to have to wait a while for our tour.
So that era of cowboys, cattle drives, all these iconic things that still think about when we think about the West. Realistically, though, it's only about a 25-year period. But that era is really what this park was created.
Many hours later.
Well, this is the Conley Bridge, and we're getting a smoke-filled sunset. And a guy that's really proud of his radio on his motorcycle. So where are we parked for the evening? Well, we're parked right over here. The motorcycle's right back in there. But we're in prison. Look right over there. See that tower? That's Prison Block. So this is the old Montana State Prison that we're parked at. And this is the Conley Street Bridge that we're looking at, which was rebuilt in 2020. But it's part of the Yellowstone Trail that was formed originally to be able to make a trail to Yellowstone, but ultimately formed a trail connecting Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts and Seattle, Washington. 800 miles of it run through Montana. So we're going to go walk down here for a little bit. And we'll probably walk down here for a little bit more tomorrow morning. We got some rocks. We got some ducks. We got some ducks that look like rocks. We've got Kit. Right there we do. Yes, we do. That's the Kitster. I guess that's a local coming out to walk the dog. So this is kind of nice. They mowed right along the edges here. Nice looking little trail. Guess I can bring my awning in now finally. The sun was just beating into that side of my RV. So there's Kit pulling me back, pulling me back, pulling me back. Where are we going, Kit? So we got some cool rail cars over there. Another one over there. An ice cream shop. I got some ice cream. I'm gonna have that a little later. We toured the prison this afternoon. We could go back in and go to the museum tomorrow morning for the auto museum. They got over 200 cars. We might do that. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. But mostly this evening, I'm just tired and ready to call it a night. So I think that's what we're going to do.